You're listening to the Casting for Fun podcast, the show that talks about entertainment, sports, music, and inspirational stories for all to enjoy. We're glad that you could join us today. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, here is your host, Albert Pineda.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Casting for Fun podcast. I am your host, Albert Pineda, and I hope everybody listening had a happy and safe 4th of July. Independence Day is always great. It's always a fun time to celebrate with family and friends, and remember the importance of freedom and the wonderful gift we have to live in this country. And I'm excited for the summertime season. I'm excited to talk about movies. Summer blockbusters are the best. They're so much fun. And to get to have that experience in the theater is really great. I touched on this a few weeks ago that with scheduling, kids and everything, I know for Allison and I to make it to the movies, it's a bit of a challenge, but we've been able to do so in the past couple of days, which is really great. So finally, I'm going to sit down and do an episode talking about Across the Spider-Verse with my older brother, Fernando, and his daughter, Claire. I'm very excited Claire is going to join us to talk about this movie. We talk about it extensively. We absolutely love this movie. It's fantastic. It's great. The animation's amazing. The story's really intriguing and inspiring to hear about the story of Miles Morales, one of the coolest characters, I think. Not just simply a Spider-Man ripoff. He's actually a really cool character, too. Excuse me. And then in the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear me talk about the Flash movie. And I got a lot to say about that one too. But Across the Spider-Verse was really fun and great. So this is my conversation with Fernando and Claire about Across the Spider-Verse. Returning to the Casting for Fun podcast is my older brother, Fernando. Fernando, how are you?
Good to be back.
Awesome. And then for the first time on the show, it's my niece, Claire. Claire, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Thank you for indulging me in this silly hobby I do of podcasting. It's fun for me. Oh, very cool. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse animated movie that was released just about a month ago. Really excited to get to talk to both of you about it. And I was actually really excited to hear, Claire, that you enjoyed the movie quite a bit, which is really awesome too. So good job, Claire, for liking it. Awesome. Okay, cool. So again, Claire, just so you're familiar with the show, I mean, anything at all Spider-Man related you want to talk about is totally fine. Anything related to the first Into the Spider-Verse movie is okay too. Basically, it's kind of an open conversation. So anything you want to bring up is totally fine.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the Across the Spider-Verse. Yes, general feelings from both of you. You guys can decide who wants to go first. What were your general thoughts of the movie Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I'll go first. So the opening scene with Gwen being in that band and all that was just awesome. It was like great music, great animation. It was setting up the story for the rest of the movie. And I was like, usually movies, when they have a great opening scene like that, the rest of the movie kind of disappoints, like animated movies like that. So, like, for example, there's Bolt from Disney.
There's
Up. Up was,
okay.
Up was
okay.
good. The whole movie.
Okay, continue.
All right, but anyways, yeah, that's the example I had. Like Bolt started out awesome, and it was just kind of slower paced the rest of the movie. This movie just like picked it up. It slowed down a little bit in the middle, but after the middle, it just kept going and it just ended like, well, yeah. I mean, spoiler alert, but yeah, I loved it. I think it is the greatest animated movie ever made.
Oh, awesome! That's very high praise.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love the beginning where we're getting to hear Gwen narrate it, which is really cool. So, in the beginning of the first one, we're hearing the various Spider-Men, first starting with Peter B. Parker and then Miles. Everyone's taking their turns narrating, but it was really cool to start out with Gwen narrating it. So, I think obviously Miles is the star, but I think just below Miles is Gwen. So I think it's just almost as much her story, which is really cool too.
Yep.
Cool. What did you think, Claire? What were your favorite things about the movie? Just kind of general. We're going to get to specific plot points as well, but generally, what did you think?
So I think overall the movie, it was fantastic. It was like, there's so many like little details in the movie that was just like, absolutely stunning for an animated movie. And I think that obviously, like, the beginning with Gwen was phenomenal. Like, I would not have it any other way. It was just perfect. And I love the way that they animate Gwen's world with like this whole watercolor kind of vibe. It's just really cool to see. And I don't know, like this villain was really fantastic too. And all these different like things that just like all these different problems that came up that was like really hard for, Miles to get over was just really interesting, and it kept you super invested throughout the entire film that like I didn't even care if that it was like 2 hours long. I was like really dying to see what happens next. And obviously I'm so glad that Gwen narrated the beginning, because I feel like not only did it give her like a more like it introduced her better as a character than the first movie did, but it like really gave her a clear motivation that you started to sympathize with her, even though like you agreed that like Miles felt betrayed by her. You understand her side and you understand what she's going through. And that's like really important for her character, and that was really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. I love that analysis, Claire. Great job. Touching back on what you had just talked about, the story of Miles, I kind of looked at the whole movie as like a two parts, basically. So the first half dealing with Miles and his relationship with his parents, and his parents were really great too. It's actually kind of fun to see their dynamic and then just their personalities. It was kind of funny that his mom got upset that he was getting a B in Spanish, but all the other classes getting A's. And then the second half of the movie talking about the multiverse stuff, like so meeting all the other Spider-Man. And it was interesting that I remember reading somewhere that it was like over 280 different spider characters who appear in the movie itself, different unique ones, which is really, really cool. So you can tell that the team went through a lot of like care and development for this movie, which was really great to see as well.
Yeah.
So what were your general thoughts, or just that's what you just said?
Oh, but I loved, just having the team of Phil Lord and Christopher Miller together. I thought they were fantastic. I mean, they did both Lego movies, right? Lego 1 and Lego 2.
Yeah.
They didn't do Lego Batman, right?
I am not sure. I didn't look, but I know they did the two Lego movies. And interesting, they were the ones doing the Han Solo movie and got fired from that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's probably why.
But they just made an animated movie better than anything Disney or Pixar has ever done.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's like some great payback there.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So I mean, they were just fantastic with their storytelling and writing. So many intricate deep plot points and jokes. The jokes were funny. I mean, not like overdoing it, but
yeah,
subtle things where they keep mentioning like, the M in ATM stands for machine. So you don't say ATM machine, or like you don't say Shaw T. It's just Shaw is T. Things like that were just funny to
me. Yeah, I like the Spider-Man pointing at the other Spider-Man. They put that in.
Yeah.
I laughed at that part. It was funny.
Mm-hmm. And then getting to see all the different visuals, like Claire, you touched on that as well. In fact, it was kind of cool that when the I guess Da Vinci era Vulture enters their universe, like it's like the Leonardo da Vinci style artwork combined, meshing together with various like different styles of artwork. So that whole concept was really cool. Visually, it was just an amazing movie to look at.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool. And like lots of the details that people point out about specifically Hobie, where he usually turns different colors depending on the character that he is surrounded by. I think that is a really cool detail. And his different like ways that he's animated just shows off his character super duper well, because of like he doesn't believe in consistency, and that was just something really cool to touch on. I think was really amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually he had a really funny joke too, or funny line from the movie when the baby Mayday Parker like poops her diaper, and he says something to the effect of like, "Hey, you took a dump on the establishment." I respect that. I thought that was pretty funny. So I want to go back and touch on Gwen's arc a little bit more. And actually, Claire, I was hoping to get your point of view as well for Gwen Stacy as a character, which is kind of interesting to talk to the younger generation about it. Last summer, I did an episode about the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man, detailing various aspects of Spider-Man history, including the death of Gwen Stacy, which occurred back in the 70s. And it was interesting researching and learning about that. At the time, the writers of The Amazing Spider-Man, it wasn't Stan Lee anymore, it was a different writer. They thought that Gwen wasn't that popular of a character and that Mary Jane was actually going to be the future, like the better love interest. But to me, it kind of seems that Gwen's actually taken the spot of being the more popular character now. I would argue that she's more popular than Mary Jane. So Claire, do you get that vibe from your friends? I mean, is Gwen Stacy a really popular character amongst the teenage girls today?
Yeah, I think that specifically like Gwen Stacy in Across the Spider-Verse was a very controversial character for a lot of people on the internet because I saw many different sides of people that were sympathizing with her situation, with like the feeling that she couldn't go back home because she was like scared not only to confront her dad, but also the fact that she, eventually learns that her dad is going to pass away because of the canon events that must occur because, he's a chief. So like her situation is very like deeply upsetting, and I see lots of people like relate to that. I see lots of people that like connect with that and sympathize for her. But I also see lots of people that like despite her challenges don't really um like her as much as a lot of other people because they really feel betrayed about like the fact that she lied to Miles and like all of this other things that personally I can look past because I feel like her situation is what shaped her to do these things and that she wasn't really in a good place. um so it's a very controversial thing, but I know that most of my friends really love Gwen Stacy and they find her character super inspiring. They find her like a really strong female protagonist that is like just, overall really cool, and you get to see her side of the story, which is nice.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, one more follow-up question with that, Claire. For Gwen Stacy, I mean, there's been rumors speculating that she might get her own spinoff, which would be really cool. And then there's also potential rumors of maybe even getting a live action Spider-Gwen movie. So do you have a preference which one you would see? Like, would you prefer to see like Phil Lord and Chris Miller continue to do like a spinoff with Haley Steinfeld continuing to voice her? Or would you rather see a live action Gwen who maybe kind of ties into the MCU?
Well, I like both ideas, and I think it could go either way depending on the story that they write.
Mhm.
But personally, I really love animation, and the way that Gwen's world is animated is just so stunningly beautiful that I think if they went with the animation route, like I think I would be a little bit more pleased with that.
Oh, okay, very cool. That's a good answer. Yeah. Fernando, did you have anything you wanted to add about Gwen Stacy, either her story arc or anything else?
Um, the character is written really well. I follow Bryce Dallas Howard on social media,
Mhm.
and for people who don't know, she was the female lead in the Jurassic World movies, and she's also directed a few Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. She's directed episodes of Mandalorian and Boba Fett and so on. I think she did one for Andor. I don't remember. Um, but anyhow, yeah, I totally forgot that she was in the third Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, and she played Gwen Stacy in that movie.
That's right. Yeah.
So, because I that movie was all right. The first two were better. So I only saw it the one time, and that was it. But yeah, the character was so well done that she had to go out and say, "I have to give props to Gwen Stacy because I'm a former Gwen Stacy too," and that was really cool that she did that.
Yeah, that was really cool. It's kind of funny too. Like, I think I would agree that Spider-Man 3 wasn't like one of the better Spider-Mans. It's probably kind of the bottom of the barrel, but
Yeah,
the memes that come out about stuff kind of maybe make it more entertaining. I think
yeah,
Attack of the Clones is kind of the same way as well. So all the Bully Maguire memes that resulted as a result of Spider-Man 3 maybe made the movie a little more enjoyable and fun.
yeah. I don't know if you've seen. Sorry, it's slightly off topic, but there's Darth Bully McGuire versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn.
No, I haven't seen that.
You need to look that up. That is really funny, and he does that dance where he has
Yeah.
his hands up in the air. So when he kills Qui-Gon, he does that.
That does sound pretty funny.
Yeah.
Definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
Moving on with the Across the Spider-Verse, I wanted to dive into the concept of canon events. I mean, that was actually obviously a major plot point of the movie itself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that in the story, or for certain spider people, like not everybody has a canon event what results in like a police captain dying. But some people, I mean, basically all the Spider-Men have lose someone important to them. Like an example would be Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man didn't lose Captain Stacy in his universe, but he did lose his Uncle Ben. Same thing with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He lost his Uncle Ben and his Aunt May. So the concept of canon.
Spoiler alert! I've only seen the first one.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Tom Holland.
Okay, thanks for warning. I won't tell you any. Okay, massive spoilers for the animated Spider-Man movies, but everything else, I'll kind of keep it off top topic.
Yeah. Okay.
So the concept of canon events, what did you think? I mean, it was kind of an interesting plot point that Miguel O'Hara, so Spider-Man 2099, would be insistent that the canon events have to take place as they're meant to, otherwise it destroys everything. So what did you guys think of that concept of canon events?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I was a little bit confused at first because like Peter Parker doesn't have, but then I'm like, oh, it's his Uncle Ben who dies. So yeah, I mean it makes sense. I don't really have a whole lot to say because it's I mean it's what drives the story.
Yeah.
But there's a meme I saw not too long ago that said, "Oh, look, they're rebooting Spider-Man," and then and it says Uncle Ben is getting ready to die again or something like that. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Oh no. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Claire, about the concept of canon events?
Well, there's two things I want to say, and number one is that I wanted to point out how I think her name was Jess, the Spider Woman that was pregnant in the beginning. Yeah.
The motorcycle,
yeah, she was really cool. I liked her motorcycle. But I think that, some people have been theorizing on the internet, and I totally agree with this, that her canon event was actually her husband passing away because he gets mentioned pretty briefly in the beginning of the movie where she's talking about how she's pregnant and how excited that they are. And then despite her having more screen time and, it's not really relevant anymore, she still doesn't mention him. Mm-hmm. And some people were saying, like maybe he was the captain that died. And I wanted to point that out, that maybe that was her canon event, because I find that super interesting that, it was kind of left unread. And, so there was room for people to really talk about that. The second thing I wanted to mention was I love the idea of like you can't break the canon, like this whole like thing, but we've seen two characters already that have broken their canon, which is Peter B. Parker, because he wasn't supposed to have Mayday, but he did have Mayday, and he wasn't really supposed to get back with MJ, so that was really interesting that he managed to do that without his world falling apart. And we've also seen that Gwen, as soon as she got back, she learned that her dad had resigned. And so because he didn't die, that kind of broke the canon because, he was supposed to die, but he didn't. So I think that's really interesting that we've already seen two characters break the canon. And I don't see a clear connection yet, but I do think that's going to help Miles if he learns to find out like what happens, like what counts for breaking the canon and what doesn't count. So yeah.
Oh, okay, that's a really interesting so there, oh, go ahead, Fernando. Sorry.
Yeah, so there was a third one, and that was the Indian Spider-Man. I think it was Privateer or something, I forgot.
Yeah.
Miles saves his dad.
Or his girlfriend's dad.
Oh, his girlfriend's dad on that bridge.
Yeah.
And that's what set off, Miguel O'Hara getting all upset because he broke that canon for someone else's Spider-Man, not himself. So
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that, maybe I think it might have been because Miguel made himself known. That is what broke the canon. But we see in the first movie multiple times that when the Spider-Man are trying to get home and stuff, that they make themselves known, but like not as crazy as like saving people, but like they do make themselves known. So I'm not really sure if that has to do with the canon. Like you have to make sure there's only one Spider-Man is known. I'm not really sure, but that's what I'm kind of leaning towards.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, it's a very interesting theory. In fact, it brings into the concept of Miles and Miguel O'Hara kind of like chastising him, telling him, "Hey, you're basically an accident. You're not even supposed to be Spider-Man."
yeah,
But it's interesting that without Miles's influence, Peter B. Parker, like you mentioned, Claire, wouldn't have turned out the way he did. His life would have basically been over. And then I'm not so sure about his influence with Gwen. Possibly there might be some revelation that his interactions with her led to her relationship with her dad and her dad resigning. I'm not sure, but it basically goes to the point where yes, Miles, maybe he was an accident. In fact, it kind of always seems for spider people like you get bit on accident, but it's more about what you do with those powers you're given, and the concept that anybody could be a Spider-Man if they decide to do good with what they're being given, basically is what I'm trying to say. So
yeah.
very cool. Very cool. Okay, I want to jump into the cliffhanger ending now. This was actually the part that made me like just almost jump out of my seat. It was in the theater. It was really, really cool. The only other thing I can think of that was sort of like it was maybe Back to the Future Part 2, where we see the dystopia version of Hill Valley because of what Biff did, but we know, I mean, it's spoilers for Back to the Future Part 2. We knew what Biff was doing. So we knew that there was going to be an alternate version of Hill Valley, but for Across the Spider-Verse, I mean, like it didn't dawn on me until like, a couple minutes in, like, oh, by the way, Miles isn't in the same universe as Gwen. They went to different universes and his universe is completely turned upside down now. So what did you guys think of that cliffhanger ending from Across the Spider-Verse?
That was crazy. Like I thought he was in his appropriate, his corresponding universe, and he was in the one where the spider came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, whoa, yeah, that was kind of crazy, mind blowing.
Yeah. What did you think, Claire, when you saw that revelation?
Um, I kind of guessed it from the beginning because I just kind of assumed that, he's Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider Bite, Spider, not from his universe. So obviously he was going to be sent to the wrong universe. And so, when things started to get a little bit more twisted, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so this makes sense. Um, I think that, the whole Earth 42 concept is really crazy, and I loved watching, like seeing like all the crazy different things, like the different Miles, and seeing Uncle Aaron completely alive, and the fact that there is no Spider-Man, and you can see like that there's that their world is completely like just a dystopian place, because you can see like it's just really crazy, and you can tell by the dark atmosphere, and it was just really cool, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then the big reveal that, his dad did in fact die, even after everything he was trying to do and save him, he couldn't save him, that his dad dies in that universe. His uncle Aaron's still alive, but that universe's Miles becomes the Prowler.
Yeah,
So to see him have to fight himself, or like, whatever they end up doing with that character for the third part, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. But yeah, the way it ended, I thought was absolutely perfect. And then of course, when Gwen gets the whole band back together, like Fernando mentioned at the very beginning, we get to see Spider-Man Noir show up again, and the girl anime Spider-Man, I forgot her name.
Penny.
Penny, thank you, Claire. Yeah, and then Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham too.
yeah.
So it's going to be a really, really awesome third part movie. I can't wait to see it, and
Yeah.
it's cool that we don't have to wait that long. It'll be next year, so that's
Well, Spider Punk is with them, and so is the Indian Spider Man.
yeah.
Yeah. So I thought what was really interesting is they had Donald Glover there as the Miles Morales Prowler live action version, and he
Mhm.
was in he was captive in the Spider-Verse headquarters. And then I heard that if they do make a live action Miles Morales movie, that he's going to be in it, but he's not going to be the main Miles Morales. He'll probably be like the Prowler or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So actually, I don't know if I want to spoil this for you. You said you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, right? Or have you? The first Tom Holland one?
I've only seen the first Tom Holland one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you may not remember then. So actually, Donald Glover appears in that movie as Aaron Davis.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I did read that after I didn't remember, but I did read that after I saw the Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, yeah. So people have been theorizing that he could be the MCU's Aaron Davis. And in
Yeah.
dialogue, he doesn't specifically name him, but he mentions that he has a nephew to Tom Holland Spider-Man,
Oh right.
referring to Miles Morales, even though he doesn't specifically mention him by name.
Yeah.
It is possible that we might see a live action Miles Morales in the MCU in the future. That'd be really cool, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really cool Easter egg. In fact, I want to dive into that now, the various Easter eggs throughout the movie. Were there any other ones that stood out to you? Again, it was really cool to see Donald Glover come into the movie because he was actually the main inspiration for the Miles Morales character, which is really cool. In fact, an Easter egg I read about only after the fact in the first Into the Spider-Verse, when Miguel goes to visit Aaron's apartment, we can see that Aaron is watching that episode of Community with Troy Barnes wearing Spider-Man pajamas.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you go back and rewatch Into the Spider-Verse, it's really cool. You can see that clip
Just,
from season 2, episode 1, where he gets out of bed wearing Spider-Man pajamas. So I thought it was really, really cool. Were there any other Easter eggs from Across the Spider-Verse that you guys enjoyed?
Oh man, I read a list of them and then I forgot the one of the Spider-Mans pointing at each other. That was funny. Um, wow, yeah, there's like so much detail and I've forgotten. If one comes to mind, I'll bring it up, but I can't
Okay.
think of any off the top of my head.
It was cool that we got to see Donald Glover appear in live action, so mixing in live action with animation, and then we
Yeah.
also got to see that with I don't know if you've seen the Venom movies, but we get to
I
see.
haven't.
Oh, okay, the Asian lady who Spot randomly appears in front of, she's from she's the convenience store clerk that's in the Venom movies. So she's met Venom, so she's seen like weird characters like this, so that's why she's not freaked out when she sees some random like white dude
Oh, okay.
use Portal. So yeah, that one was kind of fun. Apparently we have J.K. Simmons voicing J. Jonah Jameson in any iteration of Spider-Man. It doesn't matter where they go, which is kind of fun here too.
Yeah, that's funny.
Claire, did you have any that you spotted?
Not I. There might have been, but it's kind of been a while, so I'd have to like really think about it. But it was really cool to see all the Spider-Man, and I loved seeing like specific ones that I like recognize, like Sun Spider is really, she's one of my favorites, and that was really cool. Um, and there is some Easter eggs that people had pointed out recently that I think just got some really big attention on the internet, which was that there's kind of like I don't remember which movie it was, but it was a movie that had released in theaters, and you went there and it would give you a different ending every single time. And that the Spider-Verse movie is actually doing something similar to that, and that people haven't like noticed it very much until now. That if you watch the movie again and you compare it to another version, you'll see that there's tiny differences. Like sometimes the Spot has slightly different dialogue than before. And other times, I forgot her name, the lady with the heart-shaped glasses, that works with Miguel.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why I can't remember her name, but in some versions of the movie, she will hold out her hand for a fist bump, but in the beginning, but other times she'll take a selfie with him and put bunny ears. And I think that's really cool that like the movie has like that was like a really big Easter egg that people have found out, that you can see different variations of the movie, that it won't have it won't change the outcome, but it is like, different. So that way when you go see it, you can notice all these tiny differences. Really helps with marketing anyways. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. In fact, if people knew about, I had heard that about that movie, Claire, and it's pretty cool that people become aware that they would realize, hey, let's go see Across the Spider Verse again, just to see how different it is. So it is a kind of a cool like trick to get people into the theaters. Of course, I mean, it's this movie's so awesome, you should go anyways, even if they're not tricking you or not. One other Easter egg I wanted to mention. So Miguel O'Hara in the beginning of the movie, he name drops Doctor Strange and Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, which was kind of so technically, it is part of the MCU. It's just a branch off of it, but it is part of it. So that's really cool as well. So now I wanted to jump into predictions. What do you think we're going to see for Beyond the Spider-Verse coming out next year in 2024?
Oh, okay. So I think so like in Gwen's universe, her dad resigned as police chief. So whoever comes in to be the new police chief will probably die anyways, regardless. So I'm thinking that that's the same thing that's going to happen with Miles' universe. Is that
Really?
if it's not his dad that dies, it's going to be someone else. So maybe he'll resign. Who knows? What I'm guessing is that one of the Spider-Man, Spider-Verse Spider persons will sacrifice themselves for Miles' dad. So I think it might be Peter, and then Gwen and Miles have to raise Mayday, or it might even be Jess. Like she has a change of heart, switches to Gwen's and Miles' side. She dies, but they raise her baby that she's pregnant with. I think it's gonna be something like that.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. Yeah. What do you think, Claire?
All right. Well, I have a lot of ideas of what they're gonna be doing. First off, I think that um the number one thing is I think that Miles's dad is definitely not going to die because I feel like there's too much setup that they're going to try and trick you into thinking that his dad is going to die, but then they're gonna, it's pretty obvious that they're trying to put a plot twist there, but it's not gonna happen. If anything, I think Miles's mom is going to die because she had such a significant role in Across the Spider-Verse, and you really saw their relationship grow. And, she really cares for Miles, and you can kind of see that happen. So I think he's going to be so focused on worrying, like, about his dad. Not that he's going to forget about his mom, but, like, he's going to be trying to save his dad, that his mom is going to get hurt in the process, and then she is going to die. I also think that the way that Gwen had introduced Across the Spider-Verse kind of made it sound like Miles was going to die. I don't think he is, but I do think that was like very interesting that like, she introduced him like as in he was already dead and she's trying to tell his story now. So I'm not sure if he's like dead or if he's moved on and she's just trying to spread the story maybe to other spider people because he like broke the canon, he changed like the whole like multiverse. Like it's insane. So like maybe the fact that he was able to do that, she's telling the story to other spider people that have joined the team for the multiverse. I think that might be like a big plot twist at the end or whatever. I think that Miles from Earth 42, the Prowler Miles, I think that I don't think that he's going to be a villain. And lots of people have been saying this, but I think that he's going to be kind of like the anti-hero. Like he's going to be an obstacle for Miles to overcome. However, at the end, you're going to realize that he's just trying to live his life, and maybe he'll even help Miles destroy the Spot because he wants to go back to his universe and do his own thing without having to worry about this other multiverse business that he somehow got wrapped into. And I think that I do kind of agree that someone is going to one of the spider people is going to sacrifice themselves. And if I had to guess, I'd probably say Peter B. Parker because, his canon is so broken. He was supposed to live like a life of sadness. He was like deeply upset with how his life turned out. And now that he's finally turned it around, I think he might have to pay the consequences for that. And I also think Spider-Man India, his universe is collapsing. Like during the rest of the movie, is his universe is collapsing and they don't know what to do about that. So I think he also might die, or just something drastic is gonna happen, and they may not be able to fix it. Maybe even his girlfriend may die as like a consequence because they saved the captain and they weren't supposed to do that.
Oh, very cool. I like all that. Yeah, those are really I think you're probably right on the nose as far as like not being able to uh uh reverse or eliminate canon events. I think both of you brought up excellent points about that. In fact, my prediction, I think, is that we're going to get more of a backstory of Miguel O'Hara. And I think we're going to see him
Yeah.
as, maybe not so much like, I mean, yes, he's kind of being a jerk to Miles, but I think we're going to find out more of how tragic his story was and his canon event, and the fact that he does have the understanding that you can't get rid of canon events. They have to happen. So it kind of gives, that's what I'm thinking, that we're going to get more of a backstory on him so that we understand his point of view as to why he's so
Yeah.
against Miles. I don't know
Well,
much about the Spider-Man 2099 character. I remember, Claire, I don't know if you know our cousin Ramon.
no,
He had a copy of the actual first appearance of Spider-Man 2099 that came out back in the 90s. So it was kind of cool. I think I remember skimming it through one time when we went to go visit him at his house. But yeah, it would be interesting to learn more about his backstory and his character. And I would love it if they can somehow incorporate the animated Spider-Man from 1994, because that was probably one of my favorite cartoons. If they can incorporate him with that animation style, I think it'd be really, really fun to see that.
yeah. I wanted to add on what Claire said about Miles' mom dying. If I had to have more than one prediction, that would be my number two prediction. That
Yeah, I it's I feel like it's just there's so much setup that
Yeah.
she's going to get killed.
someone has to die,
Yeah.
It's
regardless.
gonna be her.
Mhm.
It's just she's going.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mean, like you said, Claire, they're kind of like maybe kind of hinting or teasing us that yes, maybe canon events can be averted and unavoided, but I think part three and Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think will absolutely establish that no, they can't be. So, cool, very cool. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up about either Spider-Man movie, the animated ones? We pretty much went over all the talking points I had for tonight.
No, I think like I saw the first two in the theater. The first one, it was good. The second one was great, the Tobey Maguire ones.
Mhm.
And Jackie and we saw that in the theater with her brother Tama. We were so long, so it's been 19 years since that movie came out, the Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire.
Mhm.
We were supposed to go horseback riding at Bonelli Park here in San Dimas, and we didn't. Apparently, you're supposed to make a reservation before this, so we just showed up at the stables and no one was there. We were like, all right, well, I took the day off from work, and I'm like, well, what is there to do? I'm like, oh, let's go see the Spider-Man. So we went up to the theater in Laverne
Mhm.
and watched Spider-Man 2 there.
As you should.
Yeah.
It's the right way.
So that was a whole year before we got married.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So I know, I guess technically you haven't seen them all the Spider-Man movies, but I mean, would you rank Across the Spider-Verse as the best then?
Definitely. I haven't seen any of the Andrew Garfield ones, and the Tobey Maguire ones I haven't seen in a long time, and I've only seen the first Tom Holland one. They're on my to-do list. As soon as I finish my last class of school, I'm gonna start catching up with all these movies.
Oh, okay.
I got like 4 more weeks left.
Well,
And
they're all on Disney Plus now, which is really cool.
Yeah,
Except
right.
for the animated ones. Those aren't, unfortunately. So
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, like they're on Hulu and Prime, so watch it there.
yeah. Would you put Across the Universe? I'm sorry, Across the Universe, Across the Spider-Verse as your favorite one, Claire?
I can't really compare because I haven't seen all the Spider-Man movies, but I do like the concept and I like the story, and the animation, and literally everything about it is so perfect. Um, so I would say it would be a top Spider-Man movie, but also I have an animation preference compared to live action stuff.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Very cool. I totally would agree with your just how awesome and amazing this movie is. For me, I mean, again, I probably would put No Way Home. That's the one that had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield come into the MCU as my favorite, followed by Spider-Man 2, and then this one number 3. But I mean, my taste may change after watch it more. I've only seen it once. But again, I was just blown away by how good this one was. And the first one was excellent too. And then actually, maybe one more prediction for this particular one for Across the Spider Verse. I think it will win the Oscar again for best animated movie.
Yeah,
like if all three of them did, that'd be a really cool
for sure
distinction that no movies.
Oh, for best movie or best animated?
Best animated movie. I apologize.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, but it could happen with the third one. It could win the best overall.
Yeah,
live action and
a lot of people
animated.
probably would be really upset if that happened, though.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest, they've been putting out a lot of crap lately. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's always a pleasure for me just to talk to family. It's always great. And Fernando, thank you. Claire, thank you. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up before we wrap up?
Yeah, I guess I texted you earlier and earlier in the month or right after I saw the movie, and then I was looking up the action figures from the movie, and a lot of them were sold out at the time. They're all back in stock now, but I think in the long term, like the Spider-Man toys from the Spider-Verse movies are going to be like Star Wars toys when we were kids. Like that's the toy that everybody wants to have. Yeah. So
yeah, I think this movie did have a really huge impact on like merchandising for Spider-Man because now because the movie was such a big hit and it was like really good, that people are starting to like really open up to more Spider-Man themed stuff, which is why, the merchandise and the money is going up. So I would say the movie did a really good job at that.
Yeah.
Because it made them way more money.
Absolutely.
Like those, what do they call? What are those figures you collect with the big heads?
Oh, the Funko Pops. Funko.
Yeah, so I'm sure those are like selling like hotcakes too.
Yeah.
Spider-Man ones. So yeah. So I bought the girls two t-shirts. So one was Gwen and the other was Spider-Punk.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, Allison bought one for Liam that has all three of them. So Peter, Miles, and Gwen in their spider costumes. And
cool.
So we'll get Liam into it too. He's still too little to really understand. He'll pretty much wear we have him wear.
Yeah.
But it does seem to me that this is becoming really popular with the kids of today. And then obviously those who grew up loving the Spider-Man character still love it to this day as well. So it's a movie. Yeah.
I think it's the only thing that's a shame is that Stan Lee isn't alive to see it.
Oh, yeah. I loved his cameo in the first one. In fact, I think it's maybe my favorite Stan Lee cameo he's ever done.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the only regret I have.
Yeah.
That they didn't make it sooner.
Yeah, I do remember reading that he was a huge fan of the Miles character. He loved the character. Obviously, it was created by the writer Brian Michael Bendis, if I'm not mistaken, or at least co-created by him.
Yeah.
But Stan was a big fan of Miles, so it's definitely developed a huge cultural impact in our society, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Stan Lee always said like it could be anyone under that mask, and so that like that really inspired a lot of creators that created the other Spider-Man comics, with all the different spider people. And it really opened up for some really good representation in not only like the media, but it really gave a lot of people inspiration and the confidence because they thought, anyone could be under that mask, so why can't I? And that that was like really important, and it still really is important because I see lots of people every day like believing that they can do these things because of what Stan Lee had always said, is that anyone can be under that mask.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Claire. And thank you, Fernando. Great. If there's nothing else, let's go ahead and wrap up for tonight. But thank you both
Okay.
for indulging me and talking across the Spider-Verse. Looking forward to the third one, and definitely would love to have you both like on
Yeah.
at the same time, Claire.
So rumor has it that it's going to be delayed.
It
Oh, no,
is-
really? Oh,
Yeah.
It was supposed to be March 29th,
Next year.
but it's now going to be July 15th.
That's not too bad.
A couple of months, not like a whole year delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking, like a whole year. All
Yeah,
right.
but March still would have been great because that's like the day after my birthday. So like
Yeah.
that would have been a nice birthday present
Yeah.
to Spider-Man.
Yeah, they're very cool. Okay, well, thank you so much. And you've been listening to the Casting for Fun podcast, everybody.
Thanks, Albert. Bye.